Well, this is awkward. So, I don't think I've ever gotten more requests to talk about something than I have to talk about the new Rarity episodes of My Little Pony. Tweets, comments, emails from prominent figures in the MLP community. I've easily gotten almost 3 dozen requests to share my thoughts on Dress Horse's month in the spotlight, and these are just the ones I've stumbled across. It's not like I'm going out and looking for these things. And while I've, had my share of issues with the MLP community, I do have some stuff I could say about these episodes, I suppose. I mean, this is my horse waifu we're talking about after all. My current theory about these 3 episodes is that McCarthy really misses me. I mean, an episode referencing the struggle of the creative process that Mirror is suited for success, and is oddly reminiscent of the conflict that caused me to duck out of episodic reviews in the first place, then an episode parodying film noir, one of my favorite film genres, and then a Rare Jack episode, which everyone knows is my OTP. This was just a month dedicated to all my favorite things, and combined with everyone on my case begging me for a video, I had little choice but to be dragged back into the fray, if only for a moment. First up was arguably my favorite of the bunch, Canterlot Boutique, another examination of the effect of the pressures of creativity on the artistically inclined, something that Rarity is a perfect character to address. Looking at the topic of creative burnout and pursuing your passion versus appealing to the whims of the masses is another heavy, very real conflict that any creative faced with unexpected or sudden success has to come to terms with, as all too often success isn't because people love you as a creator or even the work you do, it's a specific aspect of your work that resonates with your audience. And any deviation from that can bring all your momentum to a grinding halt, as Rarity discovered firsthand by attempting even a slight modification of the Twilight dress. The problem is that all too often repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again can, and almost assuredly will, become grating, draining the passion out of your work, as it did with Rarity repeatedly making the same dress over and over and over again. The fame feels great at the start, but succeeding in your passion is supposed to be a reprieve from work. Having to put your own preferences aside to give the masses one thing that they want over and over and over again quickly makes what you loved feel like work all over again, which is even worse than what you are trying to escape from. You eventually have to make a choice. Continue to please people, or take a stand, follow your passions, and hope that success continues to come your way. Luckily for Rarity, the denizens of Canterlot realized that she had more to offer than just a single design, though too often not all artists are this lucky. Part of me kind of thinks that the inclusion of Sassy Saddles hurt this episode a bit though. Don't get me wrong, she's a great character, but she's also externalized the desire to conform to the masses' opinion, and I think it might have been a bit more potent if the struggle had been entirely in Rarity's own mind, as it is for most creative people facing this conflict. I think the most powerful moment in the episode was Rarity getting shot down after being so excited modifying the princess dress, and Rarity herself making the decision to go back to the sewing machine to continue doing something she didn't believe in, rather than Sassy Saddles saying it was a good marketing decision. If the entire episode had been interactions with her customers like that, forcing her hand not to disappoint her visitors, it would not only have played into her element of generosity, but it would have hit home a lot harder as well. At least I think it might have. I think my biggest beef with this episode though is that this is the end of Rarity's show-long arc, getting her boutique in Canterlot. But unless I missed something earlier this season, it all happened off camera in between commercials. Rarity just got her boutique and accomplished her dream. How? I don't know, she just did. This has been the linchpin of her motivation the entire show. It was the first real big thing we learned about her character, and it's just dropped in her lap in between commercials as a plot device for a throwaway conflict here. Granted, it's a fantastic throwaway conflict, with all the comparative thematic complexity and depth that Rarity's best outings bring to the table, but it seems to me, as a massive Dress Horse fan, that getting the boutique deserved its own episode. After all the hints and mentions over the course of 5 seasons, to not give its acquisition an episode of its own so we can experience Rarity's victory and share in her triumph seems like a bit of a misstep. Getting to see the aftermath and how a dream fulfilled can be massively different than what one envisions is a fantastic angle to play, but this is far from the first time the show has examined this point. Overall, I love this episode, but I just can't shake the feeling that this is an aftermath of a story we didn't get to see. Moving on, Rarity Investigates is just a fun episode. It's not exactly what I'd call a great one in terms of storytelling. For a mystery story, it's lacking anything resembling a twist, something the film noir genre is essentially built upon, but here the entire tale is rather blatantly obvious. Wind Rider highly telegraphed as the only logical choice to be the culprit, so much so that I was hoping it was intentional and that something might be up with Spitfire, maybe she was just homesick, but nope, they played it completely straight. That really didn't hamper my enjoyment too much though, because as a fan of film noir, I was all about the costume designs, the high contrast black and white shots, or whenever Rarity dipped into her Shadow Spade PI persona, and the classic film noir narration style. It was just a love letter to anyone who had fond experiences with the genre, and I was all about it. The gags with Rarity's narration slipping into reality weren't all that original or clever, but were entertaining nonetheless, and to see Rarity interacting one-on-one with Dash was also great, as it doesn't happen all that often. I was also stunned when this episode picked up basically immediately after the events of last week. That rarely happens with this show, so I didn't expect to see Sassy Saddles again anytime soon. Overall, a decent episode made far better for me as a fan of what they were parodying. Made in Manhattan was less of a Rarity episode than the preceding two, the central conflict focusing more on Applejack, which I was honestly fine with. I know, right? Manhattan served as a great backdrop for AJ's insecurities and discomfort, and Rarity did really well here in a supporting role, being far more comfortable and easily able to fulfill her role, while Applejack's part to play was far more complex and outside her ability. Being able to realize that the task in front of her wasn't going to be doable in the time allotted speaks to her vastly more healthy mindset than she had in Season 1 during Applebuck season, able to let go of perfection and absurd expectation and do what she could, and lo and behold, that was the point all along. Her humble contribution inspiring others around her to give what they can, even if it isn't as awe-inspiring when considered on their own. Communicating that in this episode was a bit clunky though, as I couldn't help but feel that Rarity's explanation could be taken as an indirect way of saying AJ's contributions weren't that good, and she wasn't capable of doing something great, but that's just more a cynical perspective, and might just be me reading too much into this. Other great bits were seeing Coco Pamel again, though it seems her and Rarity haven't been keeping company all that much since their last encounter, which was a bit of a disappointment. Overall though, I thought this episode was pretty fun. Good to see Applejack and Rarity doing their OTP thing again. Probably lands in the middle in terms of the best and the worst that this month had to offer in terms of Dress Horse outings. Overall, I really enjoyed Dress Horse month. It was a lot of fun. I got to see my favorite character again after kind of not having the spotlight for a while. Rarity doesn't seem to have too many episodes too frequently, but when she does, they never fail. Should be really fun, at least to me as a raging fanboy. Before I go, I just want to take a moment to thank all my wonderful patrons on Patreon who make this video possible. Without these people's generous support, this channel wouldn't be a thing and this video wouldn't have been made. And a special shout out to Twisted Prism for editing this video far better than I could have. So if you see these guys in the comments, give them some love. If you like this video and or this channel and want to help keep it going, and be on this list too, click the link in the description below to check out my Patreon. Anything you can do for me is highly, highly appreciated. And that's all I got for this video. Give it a thumbs up if you thought it was good, or give it a thumbs down if you thought it freaking sucked. With this video, I'm sure many of you are wondering what my deal is with talking about MLP content going forward. A fair question. And in light of that subject, I should have, if I wasn't lazy, also put up a video with this one talking about that very subject, which you can watch right here. The short and sweet of it though is that the regular episodic reviews are still a thing of the past, but I might throw my 2 cents in whenever something particularly interesting happens that resonates with me. Like if Trixie came back again, or the CMC get their cutie mark, or if Celestia and Luna actually do something of legitimate consequence. If you want more details, again, click the link to watch the vlog. It's all I'm going to be saying on this matter. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the glorious return of Dress Horse. I'll be joining in the discussion below. Until next time, I'm Tommy Oliver. Stay curious.